Hey, everybody, we are live. I'm so excited. I know it takes a couple minutes for everyone to get on live on YouTube Live because there's a little bit of a delay. So before I go ahead and introduce our featured guest speaker for tonight that I'm so excited about, and you guys have heard me talk about this guest speaker many times, I'm just going to talk about other stuff. So, oh, everyone's already on, so I don't have to talk. There's tons of people just hopping on. I knew that this was going to be a hot webinar. So welcome everybody to the Tribe United Step Up to Leadership Week 5 training call. So today, I mean, we've gone through listening to so many amazing guest speakers, and we've gotten so many takeaways from all of these calls that we've had. It's been like legit the best training that I've ever been a part of this last couple weeks, this last 5 weeks. So I am so excited because this is a guest speaker that truly mentored me from day one in my business. So you guys know, in case you don't know, I have been doing this for 7 years. When I first started, I was very insecure. I was very shy. I had no business background. I'm from a super small town. I didn't have like a ton of people around me supporting me. And a lot of the people in our company at that time, because it was newer, they didn't really, we didn't have challenge packs. We didn't have a lot of stuff going on. We didn't know the direction we wanted to take, because a lot of us on Platinum Presenters, that's Christine Dwyer's team, just for those of you who don't know, because now it's like grown up so big. We weren't like network marketers. We're just people who loved fitness and loved Chalene Johnson and did her workouts. So we just wanted to get into it because we wanted to help people and we wanted to share this, but we didn't have that background. So it was so amazing that being part of Platinum Presenters, we had the honor to have Craig Holiday, who is our featured guest speaker tonight. He actually mentored Platinum Presenters in the beginning stages of that team. So Christine signed him on to train us, and he got on calls every week and did exclusive leadership training. He got face-to-face with a lot of us. I mean, it was amazing. And I must say that when I started getting trained by Craig, who has been doing this forever, that's when not only did I learn how to do this and what to do with my business, but more than that, it was the bigger picture. Like, why am I doing this? And the vision he casted over me and so many other leaders that are now on Platinum Presenters. And just in case you guys don't know, Platinum Presenters was like the fastest growing team in all of Beachbody. It's seriously, I can't say this for sure, but I know at one time it was the largest team with Team Beachbody. And I mean, all of you guys, think of all the leaders that we have just in our downline in Tribe United. I mean, we have so many leaders, and we're all part of that team that was trained by Platinum Presenters and Craig Holiday. So let me go ahead and introduce him a little bit more, but that's just my personal experience with Craig. Like, he would like reach out to me as this tiny, you know, this new coach who's from this small town and didn't really know. He would reach out to me and just say, "I'm so proud of you that you did this." And it was just amazing. Like, he definitely lit a fire in me and casted vision over my business. And it has a lot to do with what I have achieved in this business. So other than that, other than my personal experience, he has been, he personally mentored Platinum Presenters, like I said. He has been mentoring or in relationship marketing for over 37 years. Hello. So he definitely gets what we're doing. I know a lot of times that we hear from, we read personal development and we have speakers, but they don't really get network marketing, but Craig does. He's been doing this forever. He has built a international marketing business spanning the globe. He recruited and trained over 80,000 associates worldwide, creating a 7-figure income. Mentored and trained with Beachbody for 4 years, just in case you signed on after that. He actually worked with Beachbody, mentoring and training coaches, and he's helped many Beachbody coaches create 6- and 7-figure incomes. So I know that I just talked way too long, but I just really wanted to do him justice and what he has done for my life and my business. Now I'm just going to completely turn it over to you, Craig, and you can just speak vision on all these coaches.
Thank you, Mindy. I appreciate it so much. Gosh darn, what a great introduction. I appreciate that. And You know what? I can't tell you how proud of you I am, because you know the thing that's such a blessing in this business is I can look at you now and I got to see you in the beginning. And so many of the people on our team and so many people on your team, they don't have that experience. You know, they see you now, and a lot of times we see people on the front of the stage, but we don't know what went on behind the stage. And to be able to, and I follow you on Facebook, and so many of the people I had a chance to work with in Beachbody is just, it's been such a blessing. In fact, I think when I started with Beachbody, I think Christine Dwyer was a 2-star diamond. I remember the first team call I ever did for her, Janelle Summers was an emerald. And people like Melissa McAllister, some of the superstars were all just getting started in the business. But you guys had the greatest hunger and desire, you know, to grow and to change and to do unbelievable things with your lives. And so it was just such a fertile ground for me. And so I want to tell you how proud of you I am. And all of you that are listening, I think sometimes we don't appreciate our upline. We kind of do, but we don't. And I just want you guys to know that you have one of the greatest leaders in this business. But more than that, you have a person that loves people. And that's a lot of what I want to talk about tonight, because you know a lot of times we have this misunderstanding of what our business really is. And so I want to go through some points tonight, but I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story, because I think it's important that you kind of hear a little bit of my story, because it gels into why I've been involved for 37 years in this industry. And it's my life. It's not even a business, it's a calling. And you know, one thing I've always said about a calling, and a lot of you will relate to this, is when you're called, you don't negotiate. There's no negotiating. And so it seems like every time I might go a different direction, I move back into the business of people. And that's really what network marketing is. But let me take you back. You know, I grew up in a home, as a kid, I was obese. I was 85 pounds overweight. And that's part of what drew me originally to Beachbody, because I had a chance to, you know, I always said for me, it wasn't, you know, what I ate, it was what was eating me. And so I grew up in this home, you know, where I had a abusive relationship with these stepfathers that my brother brought in, and she drank for 30 years. And so we were very poor. And so I was this obese kid, very sad, very disheartened. And I used to find myself in this closet. You know, I'd go hide in this closet because I never knew when I was going to get hit upside of the head or abused by these stepfathers that were in the picture. So I'd sit in this closet, but I remember in sitting there that there was this, I call it a DNA. It was this determined natural ambition. There was something inside of me that said that someday, some way, you're going to do something impactful with your life. And it didn't really fit, because you know, I wasn't a high achiever, because I never had an encouragement. No one ever tried to talk me into doing anything good with my life. No one cared what kind of grades I got. No one cared if I was even home much. But there was just something inside of me, and I believe a lot of you that are even listening in tonight, we have this DNA. And when you have it, you can't negotiate it. It's not like getting a cold and you're going to get over it, because when you have it, you have to deal with it. You have to move forward in your life. And so, you know, I spent a lot of my life in the beginning asking, why me? You know, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why was I abused? Why did my father leave when I was 7? And all these why me's. But one of the biggest transformations that happened in my life was when I stopped one day. I think I was probably about 27 years old. And I said this to myself, why not me? You know, why not me? Because what kept me in the why me place, and maybe some of you can relate to this, what kept me there is the scripts that were written in my life about me that were untrue. And I believe for so many of us, as we get started in our business, some of our biggest challenge becomes ourselves. You know, that challenge of reading scripts of our life that you're worthless, you're fat, you're no good, you know, and these scripts, we own them. And even though they're lies, they become truths to us. And so we live this life out of almost that we're in a play, and we've got this script, and we're going to become this character, and we're going to perform in this play. And that's kind of what I found my life being. As I was performing, I was the class clown, I was the non-achiever, and it was because that's what all the expectations of what my life were. And a lot of you, as you sponsor and begin to build this business, you're going to find the people that you work with, that your expectations of them are almost going to be foreign to them. It's almost going to be like, what are you talking about? Because they still live in the past with this script. And none of us tonight, just like I realized years ago, is none of us can go back and change our past. We can't go back and make it better. You know, I didn't pick what parents I had. None of us had that opportunity. Some of you might have had an incredible upbringing. You might have been brought up with phenomenal parents, but what I've seen through the years is not so much. You know, I had a ministry for 10 years where I worked with fathers and sons and reconciliation, and I saw so many dads that had these father wounds because their father wasn't there. And it affects men at, you know, they're 40, 50 years old. And so I had this incredible ministry that I had where we do weekends for 500 guys, and they would come in. But the biggest thing is that they were living out a script of a life that someone told them that's where they were headed. That's what they were doing. And when you sit down with people and you begin to talk about dreams and hopes and opportunity, sometimes they look at you like you're like speaking a foreign language, or you're like from another planet. And we can't understand that because we have this DNA inside of us that we knew we had to win. I mean, you take many small town, right? Not much support in the beginning. But you know what? When you have that DNA, you find a way to win, no matter what it takes. So I got involved in the industry in 1979. And once the one thing I saw about it when I got started was I always believed that if I was going to really be an impact person, it would be in the lives of people. Because I always knew that, somebody told me once, and you've heard this before, that if you could do something you love and make money at it, man, greatest thing in the world. And I loved people. I went to a Christian college and was in ministry for a while. I just loved being involved in people's lives. I love watching people go from the lack of belief to belief. And you'll find as you build a big business, and many of you have done that, and I know Minnie's a testimony, but you'll find that your greatest blessing will be sitting at a stage, a summit stage or a Beachbody stage, and watching people cross the stage, and you're sitting there crying as they cross stage because you realize that was greater than you being on there. That experience. I mean, when I had those people on stage, I was like a box of Kleenex, right? Because but the blessing we got and the blessing you get is we got to see them day one. You got to see them the day you sat across from them. Maybe they were unhealthy, and maybe they were unhealthy in every part of their life. And you just knew, if I could just believe in them, and if they're willing to change, that they're going to have a transformation, not only physically, but in so many ways. And so you sit in that audience and you watch them cross stage. And I know you guys have incredible events, and you sit in the audience and you're just sobbing because you got the blessing of seeing it from day one. And that's why I always love recruiting and bringing new people in my business, because every time I sat down with them to share my business, I would sit across from them, and I knew that I would just visualize this person in their life change, and no matter where they were today, because I believe we believe what people believe in us, that we become what people want us to be. And so I got involved in 1979, and I just went after it. I was involved I was a police officer, and I had a construction company. And so I was working, all night as a cop and all day in my construction company. But when I saw the business, I realized that this was it. Opportunity sometimes doesn't come by much in our lives. And I said, this is it for me. Because I realized, my sponsor said, you want to build big, go help people change their lives. And I said, I can do that. So I ferociously went after it and put people in my business and worked with them and sat down and trained them and embraced their life and connected and just showed up. Sometimes you say, well, how do you build a business? You just show up in somebody's life and become something they'd never had before. I remember doing a Beachbody meeting in Las Vegas, and I was there with a guy named Mark Canella and Doug Couch and some people. And I did this meeting, and afterwards this woman walked up, and she was 40 years old, and she looked at me, and she just had tears in her eyes. And she goes, thank you for what you shared. And I said, I don't even know why I said it. You know what, Ingrid? I just want you to know I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe you can be something so much greater than you are. And she started crying. She said, Craig, I'm 40 years old, and no one in my life has ever said those words to me. And I thought, what a simple thing to do, to just encourage somebody. But for someone, it's a transformation. For someone, it's planting a seed. And when we understand our business and what our business is truly about, it's about people. It's about people changing people's lives. And you guys have incredible fitness products, and you have transformation physically. But I'll tell you honestly that so many people, even in the losing of weight, until they see themselves differently, until they embrace this part of their life that they know they're valuable, that they were created on this earth to do something magnificent, not just to show up, live a life and pass away. And those are the kind of people that become leaders in this industry. So I built the business, I worked hard, and by my third month, I made $1 million. And I went on to make, millions of dollars, $2 million a year in the industry for years and years. And I only sponsored 30 people. And from that, 12 people became builders and champions. And we built an 80,000 person organization all over the world. And I was there for 25 years doing that, and kind of retired from it. But I just want to talk to you about 5 points that I've learned in 37 years. I want to give you 5 points that I believe, if you'll embrace these and understand this, that each one of you, wherever you are tonight, and I don't know where you are in the business. I don't know if you're a Ruby, I don't know if you're an Emerald, I don't know, because we have people from all different ranks. But I just want to impact you tonight to realize that if you're sitting on this telecast tonight, of this broadcast, there's a reason you're here. And you need to think about today, as we go through these points, you need to think about, my future, the vision of what I can do with my life. And when I just finally am willing to put some of these skeletons away, start writing a new script, be willing to begin to look from the past to the present and to the future. So number one point is this, okay? If you want to build a big business, it's not about you. That's my number one point. It's not about you. You know, I know we set goals, we have rank advancements, there's things we want to accomplish, but if you want to build a big business, if you can wake up every day and live your life not about you, because I want you to think about that. If it's not about you, what fears do we have? Because so many of the fears that embrace us in our business are fears like fear of failure, fear of people, fear of what people are going to think, fear of success. All of these fears are self-induced. All of these fears are self-absorbed. And so in the beginning, when I got started, I just thought, it's not going to be about me. If I sit down to share my business with someone and they're not interested in my business, that's not about me. That's about their life. That's about them. You know, I go to Saddleback Church, and Rick Warren is the pastor there, and he wrote a book called Purpose Driven Life. And in his book, the opening sentence is, it's not about you. And about every Sunday, he said, live your life, not about you. That's the key to success in the business. Because see, in our business, if someone says to you, how do I rank advance? How am I going to move up? How can I be more successful? What are the answers? You know what the simple answer is? Go be significant in one more person's life. Go find one more person and show up in their life and say this, you're better than that. You're better than that. No matter what their life is, no matter where they're living, you know what? You're better than that. Because you know what? In their heart of hearts, they know that. In their heart of hearts, they know I'm better than what I'm living. I'm better than the way I'm eating. I'm better than the health that I have. I know I'm better than that. In their heart of hearts, they know. But if you show up and just be willing to say that to them, you know, I look at every sit down I've ever done, and I realize the importance of that sit down is I get an opportunity to sit across from someone and connect. I get an opportunity to sit across from someone and maybe be the first person in their life that ever speaks truth into their life, about their life. And when I sit down with someone to share my business, the last thing I do is just start sharing my business. The thing I want to do is I want to find out, where are you at? I want to connect with them. See, we need to learn as leaders in the business that the questions we ask are more powerful than anything we'll ever say. The questions we ask are more powerful than anything we'll ever say. And so many people, we get this information. We're going to tell them about this. We're going to talk about Shakeology. We're going to talk about how much money you can make. And we just sit down with people. And if you can remember this in your sit downs, if you can remember this in your connection, don't tell them your story till you hear theirs. Don't tell them your story till you hear theirs. Because every person wants to tell you their story. They want you to know where they've come from. Because you know what that creates? That creates a moment like, oh, you too? God, I thought I was the only one. And then when we create that connection in a sit down, it gives us, we move from this thing of, oh, I'm going to try to get them in something. Because most of the people you sit down with in your business, if you've set up an appointment and say, well, I'd love to sit down and show you what I'm doing, their immediate thing is, what do you want to sell me and what do you want to get me in? That's the immediate, and that's a defense that gets set up immediately with everybody. And if I show up there, and my goal is, number one, I want to find out, where are you at in your life? You know, tell me about what's going on in your life. I want to ask the questions. I want to be sincere. I want them to know that I care about them, that I'm there for them, because I truly am. Because whether they ever get in my business or not, I believe I've had a divine appointment where I get a chance to connect and maybe impact their life. Because there's a lot of you out there, there's people you sat down with that may never get in your business. But if you can look at that moment of being about them, that's a life transforming moment just because of you being there. That's how important you are. That's how much you can be. That's how valued you are. That's how incredible that you can be used. So every appointment I ever had, I sat down. I didn't get there to get them in my business. I got there to maybe bring some truth, maybe be a deliverer of hope, maybe be able to open some doors for them that maybe their life can change. So I like to, number one, find out where they're at. You know, tell me about your life, and people are willing to share that. And then the next question is, I always ask is, tell me where you want to go. You know, tell me what you would love to do with your life. You know, because a lot of times I'll say, well, I'm not happy with my job. I'm not making enough money. I don't see my kids enough. And then I say, well, tell me what you want to do. And I listen to that. And right, if I'm doing a sit down with someone and presenting my business, 80% of it is listening and 20% is talking. And we have this thing where for some reason we sit down and someone says, okay, well, tell me about your business. And it's like, give me a sip of water. And they open a 4-inch fire hose on them. And you don't stop talking for 15 minutes because you're so excited. But there's no connection in that. That people, the one thing you'll find out that people don't buy your what, they buy your why. They buy your why. And so when you find out what the why is, what the dream is, and so many people want to leave this out. Once I know what their dream is, and then I ask them where it is that they want to go, then I ask them a magic question. Do you have a way to get there? And if the answer is no, then what they've done is openly give you permission to show your business to them. You now have permission, and it breaks down the walls, and you have a whole difference of connection. So number one is that it's not about you in a sit down. It's not about you when you're training your team. It's not about you when you're on stage. You know, the people I've worked with that have become public speakers and are on stage a lot, I say, you're not there to impress, you're there to inspire. Because so many times we get on stage and we want to impress everybody. We want them, boy, you're a great speaker. I say, leave them with emotion, leave them with feeling. One of the things that's powerful that we don't understand is that we have these two parts of our brain. We have the upper part, which just it's analytical. All it can do is obtain information, right? But it's not a decision-making part. It understands language, and in that part of our brain, all it can do is take information. There's another part of our brain that doesn't even understand language. You know what it understands? Feelings. It understands emotion. It understands connection. It understands oxytocin. There's a part of the brain that has nothing to do, but guess what? That's the decision-making part of the brain. So we think so much of the time that we should be out there and giving information. And somehow, if we give them more knowledge, they're going to get it. Knowledge moves no one. What moves them is a connection of the spirit and a connection of emotion. And that what connects you is being willing to find out about their life and who and what they are. Number two, another thing you've got to focus and understand, struggle is less painful than regret. Struggle is less painful than regret. You know, you're going to have challenges in your business. You know, there's going to be times, there's squalls that are going to come. You know, just because you decide, if you made a decision tonight, I'm going to go 15-star diamond in this company. It's not going to make you wake up tomorrow and your kids are going to be perfect. Your marriage isn't going to be perfect. Your job's not going to be perfect. Your situation probably won't even change tomorrow with that situation or with that decision. But what will change is the decision. But the struggles are going to be there. So many of the times we think that people that are successful have had no struggles. People that are successful have had the most struggles. The most failure creates the most success. But we have to realize that there's so many people that live this life of quiet desperation. And by the time they're 65, 75 years old, they're sitting back and regrets and looking back on what I wish I'd have done with my life. So you're going to face those squalls and you're going to face those struggles. And what some of us need to learn to do is be a matador of emotion. A matador of emotion. If you've ever seen a bullfighter, a bullfight, you see him with this red cape, and as the bull charges, they move the cape to the side, and the bull passes them, hopefully, right? And that's what we have to become, because there's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that come our way, but if everything that we face, every time we get a no, every time somebody quits our business, every time we face a major challenge, every time we go through a personal challenge, if that knocks us down, and we don't move it to the side and still focus on where it is we're going and the dream and the hope of what we know we're called to do, what we know we're to do. If we let each of those derail us, then we spend a life of emotion in this business, and you can't build it that way. You've got to get so strong mentally that if you wake up in the morning, for instance, and something challenging happens as soon as you get up in the morning, something major, not a catastrophe, but something that could derail you, that you stop and you deal with it. And then you get the attitude and the place back where you know, here's what I'm going to accomplish this day. Here's where I'm going. And let's say 4 other things come your way that day. If the first one derails you and the other 4, you stay in the same place, then you could be 0-5. Or you can have a tough one in the first one and go 4-1 because the rest of them you deal with. So understand that feelings lie. So many times people in our business, you know what they say? I don't feel like doing it today. That has nothing to do with anything, right? Because feelings lie. When you set the goal and you realize that I know I'm going to struggle, I know being wealthy, I know being in the upper 1% income in the world is not going to be easy. But you know what you have to understand is that very struggle, it makes you it gives you the ability to lead. Because strong leaders create strong followers that create strong leaders. If we allow ourselves to be on this emotional roller coaster and we don't have the strength to lead our team, and we don't have the strength to become a matador of emotion, and we don't have the strength to deal each day with the challenges that come our way with the right mindset and the healthy attitude, then we're constantly in this frail of trying just to survive. And maybe many of you are in that place. Maybe you've gotten in the business, you've started building it, and you've had some derailments, and you've ranked up and you've ranked back down, and some people have gotten in and some people have quit. Well, I guess my question is when are you quitting? When are you done? And if the answer is never, like it was for me, because it was a calling, it wasn't something like I said, well, someday I'm going to do something great. No, you're called to do this. If you're called to do it, there's no exit plan. There's the one day, well, I'm going to give it, I'll give it, it's like somebody wants to get in your business. Sometimes they'll say, well, I'll give it a try. I said, don't even sign up, please. This isn't going to work for you, because this is what we do for life, because I was called to do it. And think about what you're doing, guys. Think about the impact. It's like I had these leaders in the business, and I used to give them as they ranked up and they became what we'd call directs, and I'd give them a little vial, and in the vial it was a little bit of oil, and it had eight apple seeds in it, and I'd give them a little ring to put it, and they'd hang it from the rearview mirror of their car for night after night of building their dream, and it was just a visual for them, because there's 8 seeds in an apple, but there's thousands of apples that come from that seed. And it's such an incredible vision for us to know that those small 8 people, like I had 12 that built a massive organism, but those 8 seeds, what they can turn into. And see, if some of you can visualize that for yourself, and some of you can understand that, it's not going on feeling, because unless you've already decided that someday you might quit, then there's no place to go but to finish. And the squalls will come. And how we handle those squalls is really the blessing and the reward we get for our ability to handle them. So the stronger we become as leaders, the stronger we become as, no matter what level you're at in the business, the more things that come our way, the more we have the strength to handle them, because of upline relationships, because of support team that we have. You guys have a tribe. I love that name, tribe. And that's what you are, because it's, I always say it's many hands, one heart. Many hands and one heart. And that's what you guys have, is just pulsating heart of this organization, but many hands make up that heart. And many of you are at different levels and different talents. But for sure that you understand that struggle is less painful than regret. So be willing to struggle as you move forward in your business. Number 3 is impress less and connect more. Impress less and connect more. There's no big shots in our business. No matter how successful you are, no matter how much money you've made, the only way you got there was giving your life away. The only way you got there, the only way, the journey, the only way you were able to gather a team behind you that wanted to be with you was to connect with them. And what is connection for us? Connection is, you got to realize that you've got to become a great listener. We have to listen and not talk. We have to, if I sit in a room of leaders, quote leaders, and I'm a studier of people, right? People say, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm a people expert, because I've spent my life studying people. I've had to, because I've had to know how to move them forward and how to motivate them, and what is their personality, and how do I encourage you? What are their weaknesses? So I study them, and I realize that for people that are out there and wanting to change their life, and the way I connect to them is I got to connect. I got to listen. And if I sit in a room of people, I'm watching people, and I watch the one who wants to talk the most. And I want, they always say there's 2 types of people. There's those you love when they show up, and those that you love when they leave, And so you ask yourself, am I that person? Am I a person that always needs to be the one talking, or am I the one listening? And I just have found, I just turned 66 years old. I just spent 10 days in Maui, just turned 66. The older I get, the less I talk. Because I just feel like there's so much around us of people that just are hungry for someone to listen to them. It reminds me of a story I heard. C.S. Lewis, I don't know if you guys know C.S. Lewis, but he's a Christian author, and he's one of my favorite authors, written some phenomenal books. But he shared a story of his life, and he shared the story of his wife that died. And he and his wife, there's a book called Severe Mercy, where it talks about his passionate love for this woman and the connection they had. And just, it's an amazing love story. But she passed away, and they had, like, this was in Europe, and they had what do they call it? An evening where they come and they view the body. And so he sat in this room, and he's a strong Christian, and he had a strong preacher, and had all these people around him. And so he sat in the room, and people came in one after another. And one would come in and say, you know what? She's in a better place. You know what? That's part of God's plan. And everybody came in with what they thought were words that would make a difference to them. And he said he sat there and listened, and he sat there and listened. And then he said, then a man walked in. He sat next to me. He said he put his arm around me. He said he kissed me on the cheek and never said a word to me. And he said, I found myself eventually sharing about my life with my wife and my love for her and how much I cared about her. And he said he didn't say a word. He just listened. And when I was done, he said he hugged me and kissed me on the cheek again, and he walked out. And he said, you know what? I'll never remember one word any of those people said to me. But he said, I will never forget that man as long as I live. And I remember reading that story, and I thought, oh man, that's leadership. That's connecting. You know, that's giving someone value. That's creating an importance in somebody's life. These are such strong skills that we need to learn as leaders in the business. You know, people don't move products. People that are moved move products. And the more that we learn to listen, the more we learn to connect, the more we learn to listen less, the more we learn to ask questions. There's a great book by one of my mentors that I love, is John Maxwell, and one of his books called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And he's a man of questions. If you spend time with him, it's like he's a genius and you want all the answers, and all he does is ask you questions. And it's such a skill. But for many of us, we get in our business and we think, I need more knowledge. I got to know the ingredients. I got to know this, and and so we're so afraid to get started because we think we have to have all this information to get all this information out there and all this knowledge. And that's not what's going to build you a big business. The people that have the greatest ability to connect, the greatest ability to listen, the greatest ability that when someone leaves, they feel more valued because you were there. That's the strength. And that takes what? That takes change, because most of us naturally want to talk more than listen, because for some reason we feel more important when we're talking than when we're listening. That's just a natural thing for us. And so what I can tell you is, as people building your business, as you move forward, is the less you talk and the more you ask questions and the more you listen, the more connection you have. Because you know, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's in your friendships, when someone listens to you, it gives you value. It gives you value. How many times have you ever met someone at a party and when you left the party, you met them and you talked to them for 15 minutes and you left and you said, man, that person was amazing. God, I'd love to spend more time with someone like that. You know why? Because I guarantee you shared most and they listened most, right? And that's what attracted you to them. So don't have an idea that the only way I'm going to build a business is to become a salesperson. I got to be able to do this. I have to have my transformation done. I've got to have my 40 pounds lost or nobody's going to listen to me. That's absolutely untrue. They're going to listen to you when you become the kind of person that they feel valued when they spend time with you. And as leaders, especially those of us with downline, when we think about our time on the phone with them, as we counsel with them, as we just encourage them, when we're done talking, who talked more, them or you? Right? It's easy to grade yourself. If I'm on the phone on a phone call doing a counseling or with somebody on my team when I was building, when I hung up, I could say I was talked 80%, they talked 20%. That I failed. I didn't succeed, because the minute you listen and ask questions, you create value. And that's what we need to learn that we have to do. You know, it's that empathy. It's that caring. And that's such a key to our industry. So many people get in network marketing, and you know, I just consulted with a company right now. I worked with a company called Secret for 4 years, a skincare company at Arizona, and so many people get in this industry and they have this idea of what they think it is. You know, and it's products. Yeah, products are important. I'm not saying they're not, but there's so much more. And the thing that they want to learn is they want to learn how to go out and to sell or to succeed. And what they don't realize is, you know what it starts with? It starts with you. It starts with us changing. And my next point that I have is, you can only change yourself. Man, write this one down, because it took me a long time to learn this one. Because when I got in the business, it was kind of for me, it was like a perfect business to get in when you're dysfunctional. When I got in the industry, perfect business for being dysfunctional. Because see, my mom drank for 30 years. And growing up, you know, she'd hide shampoo bottles full of alcohol. And I had 4 brothers. There were 5 of us. And we spent our time trying to get my mom to quit drinking. You know, you got to quit drinking, Mom. You got to quit drinking. You're killing our lives. You're destroying us. And you're bringing these people in our lives and you know what? She just kept drinking. So when I got in the business, I was a rescuer. I wanted to rescue people's lives, right? Because, man, I was going to rescue my mom, never could do that. So, man, I'm going to rescue people. So I became an enabler of people when I got in the business. And so instead of just trying to change me, I tried to change everybody else. And I had some kind of crazy thinking that I was going to be able to change someone's life. I was going to be able to be the thing that changed your life. And those of you, and many can attest to this, and those of you who have organizations, hopefully you found out that just ain't true. Because no matter, when you stand on a stage or when you have the success that you're looking for in Beachbody, you can say, hey, my sponsor was amazing. I love her. She helped me. But I promise you, because I know that if you've reached that level, you did it because you were willing to change. You were willing to grow. You were willing to do what I call self-discovery. And for so many people I mentor with, I do a lot of one-on-one mentoring and a lot more now than I've ever done. And one of the first things we do, my first exercise is 10 questions of discovery. And those questions of discovery are like questions like, what is your greatest fear? What are your 3 greatest holdbacks right now? And some of these people, they'll call me up and say, Craig, I don't even think I can do this. And I say, well, why not? Because this is intimidating just to start. But unless we start with us and our fears and what our holdbacks are, because in discovery, there's conviction. See, a lot of us don't want to think about it. And I don't care how many positive mental attitude books you read. You know, we get this place where we think, oh, I've read every, you know, I mean, I've got a bookcase behind me with, I read a book a month, 2 books a month. I've read every positive, but you know what? And that's great. But positive mental attitude is great for attitude. But positive mental attitude, as long as you keep burying the struggles and burying the past and burying your inadequacies and burying the things that what I call the hand-me-downs that were handed to you, that were brought forward to you, that you never asked for, right? I grew up with a lot of those hand-me-downs, things I didn't want. In fact, the first time I ever spoke for, it was a powder blue thing, and Chalene Johnson asked me to speak, and it was here in Orange County. First time I ever spoke for him, and I did this talk, and I brought out this old, rugged, beat-up old chest, and it had cobwebs on it and dirt. It was kind of my prop, and I set it on the table, and inside of it was all of the hand-me-downs of my life. And I brought out one bottle, and it was an empty alcohol bottle, and it was just representing my mom and the alcoholism that permeated in my life. And I brought out a baseball glove, a little baseball glove, and I talked about my dad at 7 years old, the hero of my life. The hero of my life that every day we played catch, he came home from work, and one day he just never came home and broke my heart. And I had a bunch of chains in there, and I talked about breaking the chains of your life. And so for so many of us, we have these hand-me-downs that we've been given. And until we go to the self-discovery and are willing to kind of go, I'm not talking about turn around and going back, but I got to glance back because there's things I have to deal with, because when I do, I have conviction. When I have conviction, I change. And when I change, then I can say to you, hey, you know what? I did this, and so can you. See, the greatest stories you hear from the stage aren't the ones that, man, I just got in this thing and tore it up and made so much money. And man, I've never struggled in my life. My marriage is perfect. You're like going, get them off stage. I don't even want to hear this person. We're not even taping this, right? Because that's not what moves you. What moves you is the down and out, the overcomer. And I don't mean you can't, if you haven't had a story that's big overcome that you can't see. I'm just saying, but those are stories that move us. Because it was kind of like people would say, Craig, if you did that, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I think you have responsibility in your success to be the hope for others. That's why we tell stories. That's why when you have your summit and your events, guess what? They do it and you hear stories because you said, man, she's right where I was. Oh my gosh, she's there. And look where she is now. You know, and when Mindy said, oh, I lived in a small town and I was very shy, and you know, I just got engaged in January. I'm so excited. And the girl I'm going to marry was a Beachbody coach named Dana Gramlich. And one of my greatest blessings from Beachbody was meeting her. And we were great friends, and I worked with her. And she was sponsored by Hillary Kelly, and just an incredible woman. And so, you know, I mean, just in meeting her. And one of the things I was talking to her tonight about Mindy, and she goes, oh my God, I remember Mindy. She was the most shy thing. She hardly liked to talk to people. And she lived in a small town. And I was just blown away with the kind of business she built. And see, you know what? You don't see that now. But I did. Dana did. And now people can point and say, look, if you did it, I can do it. And that's so much of our responsibility in the business. So many of you tonight, I don't know where you are. And some of you tonight think, well, you know what, I've never done much with my life, and, you know, and you don't feel good about yourself, and you don't have a good self-esteem. And then if I sat down with you and said, tell me your story. I remember doing that with a Beachbody coach one day, and she said, I just don't feel good about myself. I don't have a good self-esteem. And I asked the thing I love to ask. I said, tell me your story. And she told me this story about growing up and being sexually abused by a stepfather and all of these things she went through. And today she was a doctor. She had a family. And I said, how can you possibly have a low self-esteem and not feel good about yourself when the things that you've overcome in your life? And she said, I've never really thought about that. Sometimes some of us tonight, we need to look back and say, you know what? I've done pretty good. I ain't where I'm going to be. I'm not where I should be, and I ain't where I'm going to be. But someday I'm going to do something great. And it's that journey. It's the journey that Mindy was on. It's the journey that we've all been on. It's the thing that the greatest blessing is always the journey. The price is the prize. The prize isn't the $1 million. The prize isn't the $1 million club. The prize is the transformation. I looked at a recent list. I think when I started working with Beachbody, there was 2 people in the Millionaire Club. And I just looked at the recent list. It was posted on something on Facebook, and I literally got teary-eyed because so many of those people on there were people I'd met and fell in love with. But those people, gosh, when I think about what they were, and I think now they're on stage, they're millionaires in this business, and I thought, oh my God, it's just such a celebration. And there's not one of you tonight that can sit here and not say, that's going to be me. That's going to be me. Because I know I'm willing to do what it takes. But some of us need to go to that point of self-discovery to say, you know what, there's things that got to change. And just pray you're blessed enough to have somebody in your life that will speak truth into your life. As leaders, we can't make people feel good all the time. When people ask me tough questions that I'm mentoring, my response to them all the time is this: do you want me to answer to make you feel good? Or do you want me to be truthful? Would you like me to answer to make you feel good? Would you like me to answer emotionally? Or would you like me to be honest with you? Because as leaders, we need to be honest with people. If someone talks too much, I'm going to tell them. If someone needs to deal with these issues of their life that are their holdbacks, their greatest fears, their fear of success, their fear of failure, which is so self-centered and so self-absorbed, I say you need to take your eyes off yourself for 1 week and go look at somebody else's life. And if you're willing to do that, your life can change. But you're never going to change someone's life. And so when we understand that, I remember doing a meeting up in Northern California for a gal named Milan Jensen. And we were at this meeting, and you all probably know her. She was one of the founders, I think, along with some of the others. But we're in this meeting, and I asked Milan, I said, Milan, do you believe everybody in the business is going to succeed? She said, oh, absolutely. I said, you believe everybody who gets in your business is going to succeed? She said, absolutely. She said, if I didn't believe that, how could I build with them? I said, when you start with that premise, the challenge is we work with the wrong people. We start working with the wrong people. Because I understood that I believe everybody can do it. There's a difference between believing everybody will and everybody can. I can't stand on a stage, none of us could, and say, you can do it. You can build, you can do what I've done if you didn't believe they could. But I also know that a lot of them will not. And what that helped me do was in the beginning as I created accountability. As we started, we set up this plan and, accountability. Here's my expectations of you. Here's your expectations of me. Because when you sit down with someone to sponsor them in the business, this is a business partner. You're getting started. Sit down should be an hour and a half because I have expectations of you. I take this seriously. So much of the time we sign somebody up and say, well, just make a list and go talk to people. That's not going to work because the formula for success as a leader, I do it, you watch, you do what I watch, you do it. I do it, right? And so if I sit down and create those expectations with someone, they're strong. Like, is your word good to me? If you tell me you're going to do something, will you do it? Right? And here's the expectation you can have of me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there for you. And I'll do everything. I'm going to spend my time, my money, my effort building your business alongside of you. I'll teach. So now, if you live up to your expectations and I live up to mine, we're going to move forward and build a business. But for many of us, if they don't do that, then that's saying to me, I'm not willing at this point. And so I don't discard them, but I have to work with the willing. And we can't fall in love with potential. So many of us fall in love with potential. And some of you have love affairs with potential in your business right now. There's people in your business right now, you say, oh, Mary, oh my God, she works in fitness. She's so awesome. People love her. Oh my God, she's going to take. No, is Mary want to build? Or is this a dream? And so we spend time and effort with these people that aren't willing to change. And if you're not, a guy asked me the other day, what does it take to become successful? I said 2 things, willingness to change and willingness to learn. If you'll change and you'll learn what I teach you, you can be as big as you want in the business. But if you're not willing to change, because when we get in this, none of us are ready and prepared for what's coming. We're just not, because it's people. The one thing I love about this industry, the greatest part of it is people. The worst part, people, right? Sometimes you want, I mean, how many of you like to fire some of your team? Just call them and say, hey, like Trump, you're fired, and just hang up, right? Because they drive you crazy. But so much of the time we find ourselves that we're trying to get more out of our people. We're trying to get them to do more. You know what I've always known? That if I was trying to get more out of them, it was time to get more. It was trying to go find somebody else. Find somebody else with a dream that's willing to change and to grow their life. So being an enabler in the beginning, it was very hard for me because I thought I could make people successful. And it took counseling, and therapy for a therapist to say, you know what your problem is? And I'm just revealing this to you guys. He said, you're trying to rescue someone because you never rescued your mother. So if you can rescue one person, you've done it. And so you're spending time trying to rescue because you're going all the down and outers and the ones that don't even want to change their life. And you figure, just like my mom was, so man, if I could transform their life, man, that reality hit me. So I've learned through the years that I can only feed those that want to eat. And some of you, what you do is, if you visualize your team, whether it's small, bigger, and it's like a bunch of cattle in the middle of a corral. And if you've ever been out to a farm or a ranch, a lot of them have big bathtubs, and they drop hay in the bathtub. And then when it's feeding time, they drive a tractor around, drop hay in 10 bathtubs around this, and here come the cows to eat. But what some of you are doing are going over and picking up 650-pound cows and carrying them to the food, right? Instead of just saying, here's what I'm here for you. Here's what you're picking up these cows and you're carrying them to the food and say, now eat, right? Okay, we can't do that. So don't fall in love with potential. There's people out there that you may not see with potential. But I love a quote from Michael Jordan. He says, you never know what's going on in the heart and the soul of a man with a dream. And I could give you story after story after story of men and women that nobody bet on. And one of the things I loved about my businesses when I was building it is I always bet on that guy nobody bet on. Because I don't know, there was something about him, that grit of change, that grit of maybe they're saying every other 4-letter word. Maybe the guy's driving a truck, but man, he's got a heart of change and he's got a heart to change the world. Those stories transform lives. Some of you have those stories tonight. And darn you, don't keep them to yourself. Every little step in our business as you move forward, and Mindy knows this, and a lot of you live, every step is a giant step. And sometimes they might seem like you're 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. I get that. But every day we make a step forward in our life, especially some of you that are going through struggles and just the challenges of every day of living our lives. And marriages and the struggle of that and children and all these kinds of things. But if you have that DNA, you have that DNA that I talk about and it's there for you, it's not going to go away. You're not going to wake up one day and say, man, I feel better. Boy, I really want to do a lot with the world, but I'm okay now. I'm not doing it. I mean, you don't get rid of it. And a lot of you haven't. And how do you know if you haven't? I'll tell you how you know. Because every day you wake up, you just know that no matter what's going on in your life, that there's I can ratchet up. I can raise the bar a little bit higher. I can do a little bit more with my life every day. And some of you, it might be little ones. Some of you might still have a fear of what people think. You might still be dealing with the past and dealing with the hand-me-downs. And I just know that I just want to be an encourager to you tonight and let you know that, nothing can stop you. It's just, it sounds trite to say it's a decision. When I say it's a decision to do it, I'm not saying it's a decision and you're there. I'm saying it's a decision to start the struggle to get there. And that struggle, you guys, you will look back on your life and you will look back as you succeed. And I know Mindy could attest to that and probably shares it. She'll tell stories of her life and being in the Millionaire Club and making all the money she makes and the lifestyle she has. You know what the greatest blessings were those nights with people crying and struggling together and seeing their lives change. That's what those are what we write in the story. Those are what we put in our journal every single day. It's not the new car I buy. It's not the big house. I lived in a 15,000 square foot, $5 million house. I've traveled to every resort in the world and I've driven every car. But you know what? My journal is full of life stories of people just like you guys. And there's people waiting out there every day. I believe if we live alert to life and we wake up every day and we know, there's appointments for me today. I don't know who it's going to be, but I know somebody out there needs me to show up in their life today. And if I'm willing to do that, and if I just wake up every day and I live alert to life, I never went out to prospect. I just, as I went, I lived alert to life. And all of a sudden these people were brought into my life. It was crazy. You know why? Because I had the desire to not be about me, to be about them. And when you live your life that way, it's transforming. It's absolutely transforming. My point number 5, nothing happens without relentless, passionate, purpose-driven action. Relentless, passionate, purpose-driven action. You know, if I'm going to mentor you and I'm going to work with you, if I'm sitting in the car with you and all I can do is drive it because I have the information and knowledge you need, until you start the car and put your foot in the gas, we can't go anywhere. So until you come up with number 1, what's your why tonight? Why are you here? Why are you doing this business? You know, what's your dream? Because that's what our drive is. Nobody cares about your how. Nobody cares about your what. They care about your why. You know, a guy called me up not too long ago when I was living in Arizona, and he said, I got to check my time here for you guys. And he said, hey, I want to get together with you. I've started this business. And he said, I know you do mentoring, and I started this business. And he said, it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to help young people that have patents or, things they've created. And I'm going to help them get patented and get it through. And I said, that's awesome. So we sat down together. So he sat down the first half hour, and he says to me, he starts telling me about the patents and about all this information stuff that didn't move me at all. Right. And he was there for me to either invest or be a part of this thing. So I'm listening. And finally he pauses, and I asked him this question. I said, why are you doing this? And it was a business, just a normal, it wasn't a network marketing. I said, why are you doing this? And you know what he got? He stopped. He said, you know what? He said, I've talked to a lot of people that nobody's ever asked me that. I said, well, tell me why. And so he got tears in his eyes, and he went on to tell me he grew up in East LA in the ghetto. Most of his friends are dead. And he always had this vision for inventing things and doing things. And as he told me his story, his entire demeanor changed. His entire purpose and passion changed. The way he shared, he leaned forward, the way he talked to me. And he had been talking to me but there was no movement. There was no passion. There was no purpose until I asked him why. And so sometimes for yourselves and for tonight, I want to ask you why. Why are you here? You know, if we draw the target and we draw the outsides the what, and the next circle's the how, and the middle becomes the why. Simon Sinek, if you've ever heard his talk on that, it's amazing. But I ask myself that, what's my why? And I know what it is. It's to help people understand their value, what the value of their life is, what they were created to do and to be, and then it's to bring more value to their life. That's the why every single day. That's what wakes me up. That's what I'll do till they bury me and put me down in the ground. But you got to understand that, it's that purpose. It's that purpose. And when your purpose and your why intersect, you are unstoppable. You're unstoppable. I got to read one of my great quotes, not my great quotes, but a great quote from one of my favorite authors, Og Mandino. It says, I am here for a purpose. And that purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth will I apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. Oh my God, I love that. I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. And for those of you that have this dream, and the one that keeps you awake at night, the one when you go to bed, you just know, I've got to get this done. And if you're in this business and building it and passionate about it, it's wrapped around that. But you need to understand that the drive of your business is the people around you, your team. Leaders that create weak followers that aren't strong, that don't have a purpose, that can't communicate vision. And what is vision? It's taking someone to a place they've never been because they believe in you that you can get them there. But until they tell you what that place looks like, what does that look like for them? That's why everybody on your team, every person you work with and mentor, you need to know what's their dream, because every time I finish up a call, I go, wait a minute, we're not hanging up. Take me back to the dream. What's that going to look like? And no matter how much struggling they've had and how much pain they've had, what the challenge of their week is, if I finish that call with taking them back to that place where it is that they want to go, and that place in that dream in their life, if I can take them back there, then they finish with a smile on their face because they know that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm struggling the way I am. So I'm here for a purpose, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth will I apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain. Are you guys applying those efforts? Are you giving this business what it deserves? Are you wake up every day and you say, you know what? What's my business? It's meeting people and changing their life. That's pretty simple. That's why we call it relational marketing, because it's about relationships. And if you guys can embrace that, if that's what your heart is, if that's what beats your heart, is that desire, you know, that seeds in an apple and apple and seeds, if that's what drives you, you're in the perfect place to not only transform the life of you and your family, but to transform the lives of the people around you. So tonight, in closing, I want to ask you this: you ask yourself, what do I want to do? Okay, what do I want to do? And then, but also ask yourself, what do I want to be? What do I want to be? I'm going to read something to you, then I'm going to give you an assignment, and we're going to be done. One of my favorite authors is Chuck Swindoll, and he wrote a book called Seasons of Life, and I love it. And here's what he says: so then, are you giving thought these days to doing things that count? I hope so. Goal setting and achieving are important, especially if you're in need of being motivated. Moving in the right direction is a great way to break the mold of mediocrity. It's helpful to ask, what do I want to do? But while you're asking that, look deeper. Ask yourself the harder question: what do I want to be? Then listen to your heart, your inner spirit. True treasures will emerge. Pick one or two to start with. Don't tell anybody. Just concentrate some time and attention on that particular target and watch God work. It'll amaze you how he arranges circumstances so that the very target you and he decided on will begin to take shape within you. Sometimes it'll be painful, other times sheer joy. It won't happen overnight, but that's a major difference between doing and being. One may take 20 years, the other the better part of a lifetime. One can be recorded in a yearbook and is easily forgotten, but the other requires a life book, which is on display forever. So ask yourself tonight, what do I want to do? Sure, I want to be a 15-star diamond. Okay, I want to achieve. I want to make a lot of money. I want my kids to go to the greatest schools. I want a vacation. I want to do wonderful things with my life. But also ask yourself this tonight: what do I want to be? What do I want to be? Here's your assignment. I want you to write a eulogy. You know what a eulogy is? A eulogy is what they read when you're gone. And I want you to spend some time over the next few days. I think we're getting back together one more time next week. And I want you to, I'm going to ask at the end next week that some of you are willing to read some of these. But I want you to write a eulogy. And here's what that is. A eulogy is the story of your life. A eulogy is, what were you like as a mom? What were you like as a spouse? How did you impact lives? What did you do for the community? You know, what impact did you make that someday, if you're gone and I'm your best friend and you pass and I'm reading the story of your life, I'm going to read what this woman was, what she accomplished, the things she was able to do, the life change, the struggles, the accomplishments. That's going to be your eulogy. And if many of you struggle tonight with this whole idea of, I don't know what my purpose is, once you write that, you're going to be able to sit down and get on your knees and thank God, because he just gave you the purpose of your life. Because now your goal is to become that very person. So I want to thank you, Mindy, for letting me share with you guys tonight. I get emotional looking at you because you're like so amazing. So anyway, thanks you guys for letting me be a part of your night.
Seriously, stop. You're going to make me cry now, Craig. Seriously. I cannot even take it. Like, this call, and now you guys know why I've been obsessed with what I do for 7 years, because early on in my business, this is the heart and soul and passion that has been speaking to me and training us, and really just put that what do I want to be? Do I want to just sit there and be this small town girl that has no passion, no direction, no belief within myself? But Craig spoke vision to me like he has done for you tonight. Like, I hope that I know he has, because I'm seeing the page blow up with comments and everything. Craig, seriously, this was the best call. This was the best call. This is exactly what our team needs. Me and the leaders that are running this group were talking in a message, and we all were saying, just like, he cares so much. Like, we can feel it. We feel your energy. You care. You are invested. You really want to, like you were saying, ask questions, know about people. That's what we all need to do. We all need to get back to that. Get back to the basics. There's Facebook ads and there's social media and there's all this stuff. but we need to get back to this because people, we are here to help people, and we are here to learn about people and what they need to change and how we can help them. And if we all can just have that much heart and passion that you have, Craig, and we can invest that into our teams, like we will be, you will get 15 star, you will be in the Millionaires Club.
Absolutely.
So I cannot thank you enough, Craig. Thank you
So welcome.
so much. It was amazing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let everyone go tonight. I feel like that was drop mic moment. So we will talk and get back together next week, everybody. So get
Sounds
back
good.
on next Wednesday, 8 o'clock, and Craig will be back.
And
chatting with-
I want some of those eulogies so we can take a little time next week to read them, because I did this with Robert Hudgens' team when I was doing a training with them, and some of the ones he's met, there was a men's group, some of the ones they wrote about their lives, and people struggle so much time with what's my purpose, and they can't define it. And if you sit and write that, it's almost like it comes alive of what this person has to look like, and then we just go to work as a team and get there, right? So anyway, hey, have fun in Disneyland. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you guys for getting on. That was awesome. Make sure your teams listen to this call. This is a must listen to. All right. If you are a leader, diamond and above, Craig will be back on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is only for diamonds and above, and he's going to give us more advanced training. So that's why it's only for diamonds and above. It's more of an advanced thing. Okay, so we're not trying to leave anybody out whatsoever. And once you go diamond, you will have access to that call tomorrow. It's recorded, so you will have access to that. He's going to do 2 of those. So tomorrow night and the next following Thursday, he'll do another leaders call. So I would go diamond by tonight. I would go diamond so I could get on that call, but for sure by next week. Otherwise, you'll hear the recording. Thank you guys all. Have a great night, and we will talk to you all next week. Unless you're diamond and above, then we'll see you tomorrow.